Yes.
I expect you to do this.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, Steve. Welcome
Good
everybody
evening,
to
Chair.
the Environmental and Sustainable Travel Committee 29th of February. Started recording, thank you very much. Deputy Clerk. First item on the agenda is public participation. Anybody would like to speak? I think we do, Mr. Selleck.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 second, I'll just see, you've got 2 minutes.
You've got something, yeah.
And Sue as well, okay, that's fine.
I'll go first. then.
Yes,
Yeah,
please,
okay.
because I need to stick it out.
Yeah, well, I sent the detailing, so
Yeah.
that's very fine. But we have achieved some clarity, I think, in terms of what the responsibilities are for
Do you want
the.
to, can you stand up and then we can have a,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Yes, with some help, we've got to the bottom, I think, of what the situation is on Windmill Lane, and it isn't quite as straightforward as we thought it would be initially.
Yeah.
The byway section, it appears to be the responsibility of the council to maintain as a byway, but the public right of way department hadn't had that on their list of things to do for whatever reason. I mean, why that section of the unadopted, unmade road, part of it is a byway and the other end is something different, it's an unclassified road. You know, that's lost no missed time, I guess. But effectively, the maintenance of the lane has been very poor over the years. And now it's being inspected, or it's being requested to be inspected. And I think the important thing then is really sort of what standard is it going to be managed to? Because if all we do is just go along and bung some stuff in the old pothole, it's not going to, effectively we just go through that cycle year after year.
Yeah.
It really does need something that maintains the character of the lane, but put some protection, sort of a wear resistant layer, which should be gravel in my view, down on the lane, which will stop the traffic cutting it up. But then the other problem with the lane actually is the water situation.
Yeah.
And obviously it gets churned up, then the water just washes it all down onto the poor people who are maintaining the other end, which takes all their efforts away as well. So, I mean, we'll wait for the results of the inspection. But then if we could get some assistance or, you know, some help, I think, in terms of what the standard should be, because I don't think there is any definition. And the whole thing's a patchwork quilt, you know, there's bits of tarmac, there's brick ends, God knows what else in there.
Yeah, I think what I'd say is, like you said, let's wait for the inspection, and thanks to Councillor Gibson as well for his.
That's not on the record, my thanks.
Absolutely, for that, and I know that he's following up with the Highways Department to do that. There is some, they are quite proactive with that kind of thing. I think with Loudon's Lane, they were very proactive in, you know, searching out who the ownership of that particular section of the road. So I'm pretty sure they're on it with that one. But I know they've got probably 300 or 400 different projects on the go at the moment, I think, for highways, probably, but hopefully we can get something sorted in the not too distant future for you. And then we can West Sussex will then be able to tell you what they can do in terms of surfacing, if that's the appropriate route. But thank you very much.
I don't like the word surfacing really, because it sort of implies we're going to put tarmac down it. That would be a totally wrong thing to do with that sort of lane.
I had one question actually, was car usage on that lane. How bad is it? Do people park on verges?
They do the southern end, don't they? I mean, Surrey gets more of that because it's closer to the school, closer to the nurseries.
Right.
Further down, not so much.
There is a little bit at the top of the lane, the south end of the lane, which when I taught at Imborne 150 years ago, you know, we all parked, you know, so, and to be honest, we have no objection to half a dozen teachers and people stopping in a nursery that, you know, practically, you know, because it gets at their point. But there is more usage now. I moved in about 10 years ago, so there's more usage. To be fair, there's been building work, there's been all the work for Baldwin's Hill School, where that was used as the entrance. There have been a couple of small tree stumps which I've had to move because they were dangerous and overhanging the road. I clipped the brambles at that end, you know what I mean? So we have tried to do our bit,
Yeah.
the answers. So we're not we're not trying to lumber you, if you understand.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, and I think we are willing to sort of engage and try to help maintain the lane.
It's
on an
more of
ongoing
a,
basis.
you know, whether it's something that from an active travel perspective, with all of the cars and everything, if it's an access only lane, that's kind of, what I'm trying to do is not get your hopes up. Really.
No, I know.
So with this particular committee might not be the right committee for it, really. So it's just really sort of measuring your expectations of what we can actually try and achieve, but we'll definitely try and help you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So
Oh, yeah, but actually the trees that Sue mentioned, I think, you know, part of this fall out from this understanding who is responsible for what. I don't think anybody is looking after the trees on the school side of the lane.
Would be West Sussex, because I tried to get TPOs put on the ones in Dorset Avenue, and they, the officer at Mid Sussex said, "Oh, no need to worry, they're West Sussexes and they look after them."
Sorry.
That's fine. So, Mrs. You're done now. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah, great.
fine.
Sue, you've got 2 minutes if you want to.
Thank you.
I've got two, I've just interjection about the trees. When the work for Baldwin Hill School was done, people from West Sussex came and trimmed some of those trees, and also sometimes people putting up telephone wires.
Yeah.
So, but that's how you do it. I came with two hats, sorry, one to support Rob, and the other as part of the Town Action Group, which does an awful lot of litter picking around the town, but also has been involved with setting up the community orchard in North Downs Terrace and looking after the green space on the A22 end of Windmill Lane.
Yes.
But really, just to say that if anybody is interested, we are having a litter pick based at the museum on Sunday afternoon, April the 7th. And you'd be most welcome to come along if you had a moment. Just
Okay.
as we're going to be litter picking at the top end of the town.
That's great. Thank you very much for letting us know. Is that something we should be able to promote?
Is it from
I think it normally is, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you
And
very
I shall
much.
provide chocolate biscuits for that.
Well, I'm definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Say.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be in
Thank
touch
you.
as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Item number 1 on the agenda now is the apologies for absence. We've got 2 tonight, Councillor Mrs. Belsey and Councillor Gibbs. Can I just ask everyone to make a note of those or personal reasons? Thank you very much. Item number 2, receive members' declarations of interest. Any going? I don't think there is there? No, good. Number 3 is to approve for accuracy the minutes of the meeting of the 21st of December, which are expertly chaired by Councillor Belsey.
Thank you very
I
much.
saw her on video for
Of course.
a few minutes whilst I had a connection. Can I have a second for that, please? Thank you very much. All those in favour of approving? Thank you. Do I initial these, Sarah?
Yes, please, yeah, there's 2 sets there. Just keep going till you come to the one that,
Is that a sign?
so, yeah, okay.
It's worse than pain. Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Item number 4 is Chairman's updates. Got a few bits to talk to everyone about. There's first of all, there's an update on the meeting with Mid Sussex Officer Lara Southall, who's the head of regeneration and the sustainable economy. Part of this is really just as a programme for this committee to really start building relationships with the right officers at Mid Sussex and West Sussex. And I see that that's really part of the key element of this first sort of year of our term. The notes really from Lara's email, it was really good to meet everybody. It was myself and Sarah and also Anthony, I can't remember his surname.
No, I can't remember.
Not Tourism, but Anthony.
No, I'm afraid I can't.
No, anyway, they're basically, he's sort of a sustainable economy officer as well. It's lovely to hear about the broad range of areas that you, town council, are moving forward with. Thank you for providing notes for our conversation. We talked about recycling. She's given us some details. Sorry.
Health.
That's it, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Talked about recycling. They're very interested in our awareness days, ideas, and also cycle hire charging points. We talked about the LC whip, and in fact, there's some more news on that in terms of the fact that they had a very useful meeting with West Sussex about the cycling routes identified in the Mid Sussex LC whip. They, along with the consultants WSP, are looking at the first tranche of routes and the detailed costings, which in East Grinstead will focus on the highest scoring route on that LC whip, which is Route B, which is the route from Worth Way up Grosvenor Road across the A22, Moat Road, Mount Eddy, Queen Victoria. That's the highest scoring route. They also introduced us to Ian Myhill, who is the Principal Transport Improvement Officer and Head of Active Travel at West Sussex as well. And also we talked about the SANG at East Court, because Mid Sussex are the leaseholders of the SANG, and we talked about the route from Lancaster Drive through Ashcraps Wood onto Escons. So that's making progress as well. They're also very interested to hear about the Bike Bus initiative that we're progressing with as well, and also plans for Bike Week, which is in June, and they're keen to help cross-promote. That's quite good. And be involved and support. So that was good. And as I mentioned, we had the other day, Lara put us in contact with Ian Myhill at West Sussex County Council, and we've had a meeting this morning with Ian and his colleague Sherry, and I have to say they're a bit of a breath of fresh air. Actually, they're really positive and very optimistic, and really great people. Very, brilliant about active travel and how they can help us, which is sometimes the complete opposite of what we've experienced with officers at West Sussex. So. Brilliant fun, and not fun, but brilliant people. And the upshot is that it was a very productive meeting. We're advised that West Sussex do have S106 funds available for active travel schemes, and schemes related specifically for schools. And although funding potentially is not available for delivery currently, the aim is to get schemes designed and ready to implement when funds become available via Active Travel England and things like that. They're currently looking to improve their rating with active travel, because after post-COVID they were given a rating of 0, and they're being assessed quite shortly where they think they're going to be able to get up to level 1 and then move on to level 2, which is the highest you can do. But Ian's very proactive in that kind of thing. His words were, it's a bit like raising the Titanic when it comes to stuff like that. So they've made massive improvements from an organisational perspective at West Sussex, which is quite reassuring to know. Would you be able to concur with that, Ian?
The problem that I see with the district is the discontinuity across the AONB. I mean, that's where the real problem is. So, I mean, my focus has always been, how can you get from East Grinstead to Gatwick? And there's a major route missing from that, which would be very easy to implement. But we'll probably have to wait for Crabbit Park to be built out, which won't be, I would guess, for another 10 years, because then the developer will put it in. I understand there's going to be a link. It's a rather curious link as to where it starts. It probably starts somewhere around about the Duke's Head or something like that, down to the Worth Way through the farms, which is going to be developed behind myself.
Okay, right.
So that will again count towards active travel and the rest of it. But I mean, it would be nice to be able to do something within East Grinstead and something on that. It's the join between the two. I mean, Paul Brown, who I think often comes to this council, seems to think that it's possible.
Yeah.
Whether or not everything, like the other side is what I see, for example, is all the money is being spent down in the south.
Yes.
So it's the coastal routes that they've been focusing on, and they're even dial a bus scheme or whatever it's called down there, which seems to me to be exactly the sort of thing that we need for the villages around here to bring people into the towns.
No, I agree.
You know, that is, you know, I mean that's been successful down there, but whether or not the money is available to bring it county-wide is, I mean, it's the sort of thing where I think this council eventually will have to think, does it take the lead on things like that, take the responsibility?
Yeah.
Because it's closest to the area, and then that all comes back to how you raise the money to do it.
Yes, yeah. We've got a follow-up meeting booked for the 8th of May where we'll be going around the town and looking at the options in terms of LCWIP and also, you know, public realm opportunities for improvements as well. That's on the 8th of May. You're welcome. Bring a bike. It's not a walk around, it's a cycle round. There we go.
8th of May, can I bring a horse?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So that's all good. We're also Sarah's actually in connection with Connected Curb in respect of charging points as well. And there's a meeting arranged on the 13th of March for that. I think, is that for the outside East Court in terms of, for electric vehicles. So it says, can I please note to the committee that the expenditure agreed on the speed indicator devices at the November meeting of £2,200 will increase due to the type of poles that West Sussex Highways are insisting on, and the committee, I'm being asked to ask the committee to agree from our budget that there an increase of £1,300 on the amount that is required to house the SIDS. So that's basically on the back of the electricity company and the poles, the putting the speed indicator devices on the street lamps. I think they're too heavy. We've been told it's too heavy, although having said that, they are on street lamps in other towns. But we must have very weak poles in East Grinstead,
Obviously.
you know, clearly. So we have to put up our own for this. So I just need a second for the increase in funding to 3,500 from 2,200. A second for that. Thanks, John. Anybody got any questions?
I'd just like to say the other towns that have got it did think they'd got the permission. They thought they had permission that we also had, that we thought we had, and as soon as Nervio inspected the lights, then obviously it's when it all changed. So who knows what she's space for the other towns. I don't think they've necessarily got one over on us. I think they just haven't necessarily had the particular lamppost inspected yet. With they thought they had the permission, but I think it's going to turn out that perhaps they haven't got the permission they thought, and so things may well change. So that is the case with that, and so they're going. I think they're going to end up in the same position as.
Fine. Can I have all those in favour of that increase? Thank you very much. Julie, pleased. There's an update on the meeting from the East Grinstead Memorial Estate in respect to the additional walking cycling route on the Sang. We're just awaiting a response back from Joe Reed at MSDC about costings for that, so that we can then go back to the Memorial Estate and say it's going to be around this sort of figure. What do you think? And that basically, she's looking at something. The installation of Beedland cycle walking route in Burgess Hill. Are we sort of comparing the costs from that?
Yeah,
we
I
can
think
sort
that's
of
what
transfer into a rough idea of how much it's going to cost for this. Okay, that's fine. So it's about a 1 kilometre route altogether. That's what they're looking at. So that's chairman's announcements. The next item is item number 5, the environmental and sustainability policy document that we're working on. I did ask everybody to come back with some ideas of their particular pillars so that we can use those ideas in then put them into the document over the next few weeks or months. It's quite a big document, and it's something that as a council, it's a document that we can use, for the next 5, possibly 10 years. I don't know. Things change quite quickly on that side, but so it needs to be comprehensive. The first item really on that document was the mission statement, and I know that Councillor Mrs. Farron was looking at that. How'd you get on?
I have to be honest, Chair, I'm still working on it. Other things have sort of overtaken at present, but it is something that is started, but not enough to bring to committee at present. I did try and do so before I came out tonight, and I just capacity was not there. So, but it is something that is ongoing with me, and it will certainly be ready for the next meeting.
No problem. Thank you very much.
I will circulate in advance though, so people can add to it, because it's something that needs to be shared before that.
Obviously, we did get a bit of a steer with the document from Southern Sheeting. It's really helpful, and Tony's always going to be on hand. And I think something moving forward is that we can always, I think it will be helpful actually if we get the structure of this document down, and then ask Tony and his environmental ops director to have a look at it and see if what areas that we can improve on. So once we've got the sort of structure put together and the items, then we can move forward with it. So the first item on that one is natural environment, and I offered this up to Councillor Mrs. Mockford because I felt this was her skill set.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll leave you to talk to us about what you thought on this.
I've got rough ideas at the moment that I'll obviously expand on as I get, but one of my first passions is encouraging schools to start gardening groups within their schools. We are in the enviable position. We have 2 schools already on board. Escots and St Mary's are also are starting up a group. So with that comes the opportunity, so much opportunity, leaving the periphery of school fields unmown, introducing yellow rattle and native species, so that then it becomes a teaching resource as well, for biology, for art, for all of that. So that was the 2 things on schools that I've got. I think we ought to identify areas where greening could be take place within our local community. Well, we've got a head start with that with Bloom, because we've got some neighbourhoods like the Orchard, like the corner of Windmill Lane, the Compass Garden, all nice areas. But wouldn't it be lovely if each ward had a community gardening project, which the residents could help and take ownership of? I mean, I'm happy as chair of Bloom to guide, to show them how to do it, to liaise with the different councils that would be necessary for the licenses. But it's definitely a doer, that one.
Okay.
I'd like to see more encouragement for the provision of wildlife.
Yeah.
For instance, if we're going to make a cycle route, I'd like to see green corridors as well, not just all tarmac or whatever we're going to have. Encourage owners, specifically at the moment, of Queen's Walk to improve the quality of planting in their beds, so it becomes a resource as well, a habitat, a nectar spot. Green roofs on bus stops.
Yeah.
That was just green roofs on bus stops.
Too heavy? No. This is something we can get fed back from another committee. The A&T last year, we were looking at that. The bus stop people that run our bus stops came to the council, but they were identifying some bus stops for that. So that is something that we can actually feed into from A&T, and Alison Merricks is working on that. So that's something maybe Mrs. Mamoni, if we can feed that back and put a message out, because there's definitely beginnings of that.
Thank you. I'd like to see more encouragement of tree planting, and particularly hedge planting, because that is so important. And investigate the possibility of wildflower areas at sports venues within the town. set aside a piece for wildflowers.
Okay.
And the other thing that we need to do is encourage the station to improve the quality of the entrance of the town, because Bloom have tried, several landscape gardeners have tried, but they make it so difficult because they put so many layers of legislation in that everybody walks away from it. You can't park there either, there's nowhere to put the rubbish. So I'd like to, I actually know Sharon, so I'm happy to contact her and ask her if there is any.
Who's Sharon?
Hmm?
Who's Sharon?
Sharon Gray, she is the lady who runs the station.
Okay,
So I'm happy to ask her if she's got any plans.
okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, brilliant.
So that's as much as I've got at the moment.
Excellent, okay. Very good. I had a little think about yours as well. There were already some ideas that came through on that presentation in terms of Turners Hill Rec, and sort of safer walking and cycling links up to there, and what there's potential, I think, Deputy MP, I think, isn't there, there's some potential to do some form of garden landscape.
Potentially, I'm not really sure
But-
what the future of
Yeah.
that site is, but because obviously it's land there to
Yeah.
be done with something
Yeah.
there.
In terms of land that we own as a council, that we can have some form of control over, is obviously we've got the 2 cemeteries as well. So there's, from a town council perspective, there's opportunities there. St Margaret's Loop needs to be included in that
Yes.
too. Another thing that came up from a meeting that we had with a couple of very nice residents this week was there's wildlife corridors, wheel to waves project, which East Grinstead is just on the fringe of, just outside. And there is an opportunity to sort of be linked to, I think, isn't there, Sarah? But
I
I
think so,
can't think
I'm
there's,
not quite sure.
we can't be involved in it. But actually, there's an opportunity there for us to maybe look at wildlife corridors from East Grinstead to all of our neighbouring villages and towns outside of the, outside of East Grinstead. So that's something that we could sort of look at too. You mentioned tree planting, children's education as well, wild gardens, bees, butterflies, that kind of thing. Ash Platts Wildlife, outdoor gyms, that might fall into something else. So there's some really great stuff in there actually. So we just need to be able to collate all of that information and put it into some form of document, and then we've got a plan that we can use, that we can look at and then incorporate some of these things over the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Community wellbeing, that was me, which is the promotion of and expansion of opportunities that support self-care, personal health and welfare of our community. I'm also very conscious, sorry, just as a sidetrack, that this is still very, because the committee is very much in its infancy, we're still trying to find our feet. So this is very much a process that we're going to probably have to go on through for the next couple of months. So supporting self-care, personal health and welfare of the community, which is the second pillar. So the 3 items that are already on the list were community cycling, Sustrans and outdoor gym. I've thought of things about, so obviously we've got promotional things like Bike Week, Cycle to School Week in September. There's also the Big Walk and Wheel, which sort of links in with a lot of our primary schools. I did put Lido with a question mark.
Did you?
I don't know. Is that something? It's probably not a road we want to go down, is it? Or not?
It would be lovely to see
Yeah.
a splash pad at least, I think. I think that's more realistic.
Yeah, okay.
Lovely to see what comes through, particularly the Brooklands Park.
The other items on my list were local maps for cycling and walking, particularly from a tourism perspective as well. And for using, so that residential groups that we've got in the town can use those routes, and also videoing so that people can have a visualisation of where they're going. There's a Roman road from East Grinstead, I don't know if everybody knows that goes up through the forest.
There's one in Felbridge as well,
Is there?
Road Black Lane.
So it's fascinating. There's quite a lot of history with that. The other stuff that we've got to really consider within this particular community wellbeing aspect, of course, is disability access and EduK, and our care home residents and people at sight impaired and things like that. School schemes promoting less car use. So we've got the bike bus, obviously, with that. There's other things that we can take into consideration, and things like school streets, although it's not really school streets, but that's something that West Sussex are very keen to promote, and that's something that.
West Sussex have contacted Escots as one of the first schools they're looking at.
Yes, I found that today, which is great.
They've been in and done a survey. Their surveyors have been in and surveyed outside.
Well, that's good.
And a particularly foul weather day. It wasn't today, but it was like the weather was like today. So they were outside doing that. I think probably 2 weeks ago now.
Okay.
Time flies. I don't know question. But
other things like pathways around the East Court estate. We've got some which obviously around the house, but I'm pretty much thinking more from an accessibility perspective, more pathways, firm pathways around East Court, so that people in wheelchairs and things can use the estate more. Link the Bluebell, the museum and library, and cross promote. We've got bike hire standard and also electric and cargo bikes. Second-hand bike restoration. Every child must have a bike kind of idea. Whenever I go to the tip, there's always 25 bikes lined up, by one end of it. I'm thinking, and they all look pretty good actually.
they do encourage recycling from there. They will.
I don't know who's, do you know who?
They run it themselves. Don't they?
Yeah, it goes. I did ask because there was a lovely frog bike there, which my daughter would have loved. But they do go. They already have a shop that it goes to, which I think is somewhere. I think it was. Actually, I don't even think it was in Mid Sussex. Yeah, sorry. Carry on, Ian.
It's Billingshurst. It's Billingshurst, but it's not very good. It tends to be more like a bric-a-brac place than anything down there.
They've got the monopoly, so to speak. On
Obviously, Biffa have. I mean, they're to be encouraged to do it, but what they're doing is not particularly, and I mean, they're not really doing anything with minor electricals, which I think were the biggest gains. So from what I saw, it was mainly pottery. But you're right, there was the odd bike around there that like it be.
Okay.
Given a dust and put back out again. I mean, crime, it is obviously, I mean, as people know, it's one of the things which I'm very keen on, to try and stop this enormous waste of stuff which happens there.
Yeah.
Certainly with schools, you contact their PFAs, PTAs. Now, I mean, even in our school, it's like it's World Book Week. It's very much it's now, instead of second-hand uniform, it's swap and buy second-hand dressing up outfits and things like that, so that you don't have to buy new all the time.
Yeah.
Bikes certainly, I'm sure, would come under that. I'm sure schools would get involved in that, and there'd be somebody on each school PTA that would be quite keen to sort of almost grab that mantle, and then each school could almost have its own.
What we need is somebody to kind of just take hold of it as a project.
Just to contact the people required.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. So that's kind of where I'm at on the community wellbeing. Next up is investing in the community, which was Councillor Mrs. Felsey, but so she's not here.
No, I'll get them to.
I wrote down a few things. So
Repair Cafe is a good one.
Yeah, Repair Cafe. Obviously, there is one already in Lisbon, which was the brainchild of myself and Councillor Felsey way back in 2019.
That we did our first when we closed in lockdown.
Yeah, that's right. The other options, investing in the community, it talks about grants to the community, and I'm thinking about gardening particularly. There's an opportunity through Bloom particularly, and also this committee. Education, like you said, and growing vegetables, plants, and encouraging beekeeping potentially, butterfly farms, I don't know, insect trails on East Court for kids as well. And youth facilities and engagement was another one. I don't know. There is a youth centre. There's a barn. The new thing. I think there's a youth. Is there a youth? There's something youth going on there, isn't there? Somebody started up a youth centre.
That's got it Sunnyside.
Yeah.
They're looking. I know they've got.
they're looking, yeah.
Nothing is concrete.
No, I don't think so.
I like the idea of a BMX track somewhere, Lingfield Rec or on King George's, with a hub there, so that
I think that's a big project that people would quite like, and extending the skate park and all of that and making it a whole community area.
Yeah.
Take-
They're close to the hospital.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, just down the
Straight road,
So
yeah.
the kids did come off their bike. It's not a.
There's some
a
very-
long
It's the right side of town.
distance to A&E
I was going to say
for
there's
the
some
minor
very-
injuries.
Very, very good examples. There's a fabulous place in Maidstone to model, but maybe that county council is not the one to take any advice from.
There's a lot of those tracks around, actually. New Haven's got one, Burgess Hill have got one.
Bolton's got a small one.
Bolton's got a small one, yeah, so they're cropping up all over the place. I don't think they're that expensive.
Yeah.
But I think it's around, so that's just right with that. And then a lot of more engagement really with local business to support young people was the other one with the from the community, investing in the community aspect. And I think we do have quite a good relationship with EGBA. I don't know how much they've got going on in terms of supporting younger people, but so that's that element. Next up is energy.
Yeah, so it's a tricky one I've found. I think one of the key points coming out of it is obviously the town council itself is only a very small user of energy compared to the parish as a whole. So I think there's got to possibly be a bit more on the signposting side and using our website perhaps with more links to grants and both for residents, homes and businesses.
Yeah.
So I was just looking through, there seems to be, one of the things I think maybe we could flag a bit more of the heating and insulation grants for houses. There are green home grants through West Sussex Energy Advice Service, which seems to be funded by West Sussex and the 7 district boroughs, so I think that might be quite useful. From a business perspective, there's mention there about Solar Together, and residents about Solar Together. So I think at the moment, I did go online, Solar Together aren't offering in Mid-Sussex at the moment. So that might be something to flag as and when I think they go around the various districts, and they have worked with Mid-Sussex before. That's one of the ones where you get sort of like, if you like, a volume discount by so many people signing up. So I think maybe to keep an eye on that, maybe have a conversation with them to see the tensions there.
What's that name?
Solar Together.
So like a cooperative almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was looking, there seems to be some other links with businesses. There was a site called Let's Go Net Zero, which is advertised quite heavily, which looks at sustainability advice and events, and provides an online resource which is useful to help businesses get started. And then there was another hub, I saw advertised called the Green Growth Platform for businesses for funding opportunities to help them be greener. So there's a few there that I could pull together, but I think it's really maybe just making sure they're the right type of thing, and then making sure that we highlight these opportunities to our local businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps maybe work through the business association and highlight some of those.
Yeah, no, great, thank you very much. I also looked at sort of from a East Court perspective, ground source heat pump kind of arrangement. I don't know. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Anybody? Expensive.
They're due to start decarbonising the police station, so it might be an idea to follow that project and see exactly how they tackle that. That might be an interesting one from the point of view.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Well, that's going to, so that, I mean, it's like insulation.
Okay.
It's going to be all the things to do with making sure that the energy used by the building is firstly reduced to the minimum that it can be, and then secondly making sure that it comes from sustainable sources.
Right.
So, and I have been following quite a lot about what Clarion's doing about that. They've got a £25 million project, which is looking at, I think, 100 million looking at 5,000 houses. So that's 20,000 a house. Some of them are blocks of flats as well, and that's a lot of air source. I'm a bit reticent about air source at the moment. It's noise, and it's also the work you have to do inside the building. In terms, I mean, our heating systems run, I mean, I think 60 centigrade is the minimum that the radiators work at in the majority of buildings, and getting it to that is very difficult. There's a very good conference at Excel next week, if anybody has a day to spare, the first 3 days, called Future Build.
Okay.
It's free to get into if you just go on the website and log. I'm hopeful of getting there on Tuesday, and it does lots of interesting things. So it will tell you about all the latest in solar panels, batteries, air source heat pumps, and the rest of it. I got a quote for a log burner, which, I don't know whether log burner would be an interesting suggestion for Heath Court, for East Court. Lots of trees around.
Especially staying up.
Sustainable trees.
I'm quite up, for costing these things out. I don't mind just not spending, as long as we're not spending the money through a commitment, but I know what Councillor Gibson saying just about costs and things, it's just, but until we actually get quoted the number, it's all quite difficult, but it would be nice if people say, as a town council, have we considered this? To actually say, yes, we did, but the cost was going to be X, and we didn't think that there was a benefit. So I'm happy that we follow these things through, so at least we can be evidence, with kind of evidence.
Recycling and sustainability was Lee. He's not here tonight, so we'll come back to that. I think he has sent some notes, so I'll forward those over to Sarah. Number 6. Oh no, it's 5, isn't it? There's no 6. 5 pillars. Fantastic. So that's that. So we'll come back. Lee will hopefully email and put his ideas. I think we're talking about waste reduction processing. Is it Tetra Packs?
Yeah.
Recycling.
There's a lot of these initiatives going on in the town already.
Yeah.
And it's pulling it forward, and even the town council job might just be a case of advertising where to go.
Yes.
TerraCycle and all of those. Our school signed up for everything: batteries, crisp packets, cheese packets, bread packets.
Where are we with like pavement recycling and stuff? What is there pavement recycling in the town? I don't think this is there. It's just mainly landfill.
It's often considered. I think they were looking at, or Mid Sussex looking at entrances to parks, whether there might be things to be done there in terms of that. So I think that might come through in the parking program.
Yeah. Okay. So what we'll do then is we'll pull all of those ideas together, and we'll start to put together the policy for it, and I'll run it past everybody from there, and then I think we should give it to Tony and ask him for some thoughts and advice on that potential southern treating. So they've got the experience and knowledge. Is there anybody else that we might use instead of?
What struck me about it is the underpinning theme. And the Mid Sussex one starts with the UN Sustainability Development Goals, which, if you like, gives you a background to fit everything to.
Yeah.
So that would be, sort of my thought, and that is just incredibly difficult to do as a sort of conceptual exercise, but it does work a lot better when you fit all the bits and pieces in.
Yes.
I think that's the idea of the programme, is to have that and then have everything sit behind it and then layer it like an onion of things that you deal with bit by bit. So that's a big document we're working on, really. So I concur.
It's a big exercise.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah.
Councillor Belson will know the one that was done for the district, with a lot of argument about the fact it was about economy and the way that with all these things are absolutely great, but you do have to pay for them. So you have to do them within a framework.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. I think it's all very well recommending these things, but I think they need to be balanced with the fact that they need to, some of these things need to be effectively costing wise, rather than people having to pay through the nose for things and council tax going up and our precepts increasing just to be able to do something which.
And it may help, is like I was saying about the stuff that the school do, or that's already in place. We might just be able to hit those targets by actually piggybacking on something that's already out there, rather than reinventing the list. So it could be, small wins and big gains. And by doing not a lot, making the most and exploring what's there and sharing that with others might just fit that criteria for the town council.
Yes. So facilitating
sharing information.
Absolutely. And, pointing people to grants and
Yeah.
money that's available so that they can start these projects up and keep.
So then they can make their decisions beyond that as well. So it's almost twofold then, isn't it?
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll, between myself, Sarah, and Helen's going to come back to me with the mission
come back to
statement
you on
and things like that. We'll get that. We'll get started with that and then come back with some drafts, hopefully by the next meeting for everybody, if that works. Now, item number 6 is our assessment document, a committee assessment document, which is being worked on.
It is being
by
worked
Councillor
on.
Pond.
Big.
It's Craig, I feel bad because I know how busy you are. About asking you to do it, but we appreciate it. Do you think we might have something
for next time?
Yeah, okay, cool. That's good. Okay. The idea of that document, though, just to reaffirm everybody, is really so it's a working document that is going to be used by Deputy Clerk and all the officers that want to have a look at it, but also it keeps all of our projects and plates that we're spinning at the same time that we can update so everybody knows where we're at and what next steps are and stuff. Yes.
And on that, it would absolutely make sense to link to the pillars. So, ultimately it's back to what we've just said now. We've got the pillars, we've got the projects we want to do for each of those projects. What are we doing? Where are we at? And how does that sort of feedback?
Yes.
So sort of central repository, if you like, of just every committee, we know where we are, the officers know what the next task is, and we all know we get blockers, people don't respond, so what's the next on the list?
Yeah.
So I haven't heard from that person, I'm going to give them another week, month, whatever, let's move on to the next activity, because we all know these things. There'll be 10 things we try to do, and some may not happen in the foreseeable, some may, and I think it's just around keeping that momentum up. So as things change, as things happen, whether by us pushing them or by luck through other, as we've talked about, other initiatives coming online, I think it's just about keeping that all together, and we all know what we're pushing and what we're trying to achieve.
Yes.
It'll be the working document, won't it?
In essence.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's been a great thing to have. That's basically, once we've got the policy up and running and done and dusted, we can select a few of those projects and really start moving forward with them. The 3 most important ones that we think we can make the biggest difference with, I would imagine. Identify those barriers that are preventing anything from any long-term project progress. And also we can encourage community involvement too. So that's another really great thing. I'm quite excited about that too. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. That's brilliant. Okay, so we're making progress with that. Item number 7 is awareness days. First awareness day that we've got coming up is Bike Week, which is the 10th of June, which is set up by Cycling UK. It's predominantly made for cycling to work, really, but it doesn't need to be. It can be all encompassing. So really, I think we've got myself and the vice chair and deputy clerk, we've got a meeting on Tuesday with Alice, who's going to be responsible for promoting it from a town council perspective. And also we've included the GBA as well with that. So I really just wanted to sort of discuss some ideas with you about that, and in terms of promotion and how does everybody see it happening, really? Any thoughts?
Well, only just we've got Dementia Awareness Week in May, and they were obviously not related, but we are trying to have one event today, as well as an awareness workshop at the Cairo Lounge. And I was just wondering whether you could do something similar, but I know you've got the Bike to Work, you've got potentially critical math, a school, and whether there might be some, we could structure it around doing something like that. I mean, obviously there can be a week, but just at least maybe just focusing an event a day to focus on and highlight and draw attention to. And you can do a bike fixing thing at the Cairo Lounge, for example, like we're doing the Dementia Ways, and that type of thing, and just I think you could easily get to a number of different activities. That was all.
Good idea, thank you.
Thank you. I think we need to be mindful. I think we need to promote this, and it is definitely in the right direction. I have to say, I've already niched it in because it happens to be sports week at school, so that's niched in perfectly. So you're niched in there. But I think things for the work and getting other people and everything involved, we need to be a little bit aware. It might be sensible to do, you know, like say, do something at Colour Lounge or something where people can pull together and maybe talk about repairs and things like that. Maybe talk about how to keep your bike safe, your insurance, and things like that to the bike. There was very much, I think there's quite a bit on social media about a very expensive bike being stolen, and the police are going, well, you know, it's insured and that, and these bikes aren't necessarily insured and things like that. So good health of a bike, good sensible insurance, and all those sorts of things, and have a, I don't know, as one of the days, pull people into driving or, you know, cycling into work that day is having somebody around.
Okay. Great. There is a kid called Mass on the 9th.
Oh, good.
Okay.
To kick it off, yeah.
And just a thought, we talked about, I think, daily highlights of either bike routes, where bikes racks are, just that kind of, you know, this is a route.
Yeah.
If you didn't know it's there, we've got the new one, I think, we were talking around just on the whole, was it on the whole tie or the A20? Oh no, the A264. Isn't there the new routes that we talked about last time?
On the same.
Yes. No, we talked about a new cycle shared route out of town. Anyway, regardless of which one we're talking about. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. You can tell it's been a busy week. Right. The point being is that every day we can highlight a different route. Maybe one day's on insurance, bike insurance. Here's a list of sort of that kind of, like, every day there's a bit of social media out there that just sort of keeps everybody kind of on their toes in terms of things that they can do. But I do like the idea of maybe doing something in the school every day as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And also engagement, online engagement, you know, photographs. Thinking just off the top of my head, in terms from a business perspective, I think it would need to speak to businesses actually perhaps on the Imborne estate, for instance, as an example, try and reach out to those guys and say, you know, for that week or one day of that week, your team cycles in or something. I don't know.
What about the hospital?
And the hospital too, yeah, absolutely.
Because they've got lots of bike sheds there, so they've probably got
Have
quite
they?
a few.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they? Oh, really? Okay.
I had a bike when I was there.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
to the cycle.
Okay.
I need a new bike.
Hopefully the EGBA will be able to point us in the right direction.
Oh, it's electric.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll make progress on that and actually come back with a plan so that we can also celebrate what if companies do it, we can give them some promotion and stuff like that, and then hopefully that will encourage more to do it next time. Okay, thank you very much. Item number 8, cycle parking. Got a report, which is item number 8. I have to say, first of all, thanks to Town Clerk and Deputy Town Clerk for going out in the tipping rain, looking at different alternative sites. Now, Ian, I'm so glad you're here, actually.
Sorry, you might have skipped a item on the agenda.
Oh, right.
We're on the parking.
Cycle parking, I beg your pardon. Cycle parking, that's the next. Bike car scheme number 10, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. So cycle parking, got an initial quote. So this is going to be, we're taking 2 car parking spaces on that sort of left-hand car park under the barrier, right under the light. A&T said no problem. And really just to look at that costing.
Was that the words?
I actually think they're 2 really small car parking spaces. Unless you've got a Fiat 500, you can't get a decent
I
sized
think the
car.
wording is it had to look in keeping, I think is what it said, wasn't it? I think there was a little bit more than no problem.
Yeah, okay. All right. There were caveats.
But they were on it. They were on it. They agreed.
So thank you for getting this quote together, Sarah. Brilliant stuff.
Okay.
So initial quote has been obtained for the creation of a level hard standing area because it's on a slope to accommodate 16 cycles, and it's £6,343. It includes the excavation of the existing paved surface, installation 4-height curbs to lower side, with corner curbs to run into level plane to, whatever this means, include droppers and to formation. Basically, it's just going to be a level concrete pad that we can put some cycle racks on, and then hopefully we can then look to cover it at some point in the future as well. But that's when it would have to be in keeping with East Court. I would imagine that there's going to be some planning issues with that. Anybody know anybody in planning? The high costs are due to having to make the current surface level and to ensure the safety of users of the cycle racks, noting that this is in part of the car park area. A large amount of the cost of the groundworks, and to give an understanding of this, the contractor advised the supply and installation of a standalone route fix system would be 350 each with bollards as required, being approximately £160. So in context, around 1,980 if based on 8 bollards. Is that presumably that's for to stop the cars from driving into the bike racks? Okay. The irony. So perhaps a different location that is level would be something the committee may wish to consider. The issue that I've got, and I'm just going to throw it out there, is that from a location perspective, the existing bike rack that's down at the bottom of the car park is in the middle of nowhere. It's pitch black and it's frequently used by
and you
some
can't
of our
see
younger members of the community.
You can't see it.
You literally can't see it, and I personally wouldn't put my bike down there. So the idea really was to move it nearer to the building and within sight of any CCTV cameras and under a light, so that people feel reassured about having their bike parked there, and particularly if we've got residents that are using their electric bikes, which are, very popular with people in the town. They need to feel that they can park it there and it's going to be safe. So I don't know if there is another location, and I'd be very happy to consider one if anybody's got any thoughts. Bearing in mind, it can't be outside the building in the spaces by the stone wall, because
It doesn't feel that safe.
It is really slippery. If you walk,
I mean,
not that you know this, if you walk with high heels to your car, it is really, really dangerous out there.
But what I meant is it doesn't, I think it's no more slopey than a lot of the site, so I think we'll struggle to find a flat.
It dips in the middle though, I think, where they're talking about. I think that's probably some of the problems. I think it's sunk a little bit over time. Yes, I agree that none of it's particularly flat, but I think that particular area there's a sink.
we've not approached the Mid Sussex in respect of any planning permissions that may be required as well. So if we wish to proceed with the works, then other quotes will need to be obtained as well. So this is just to give us an idea. The recommendation is that the committee are asked to consider the proposal in respect to the initial costs and look at possible other locations, which we talked about, and also 2 further quotes would be required due to financial regulations. Costs would come from the ENST committee budget, and the committee should consider the additional costs involved due to the site not being level. Planning consent may be required.
Do we have a look at S106 funding, Mr. Chairman?
I was going to ask that because I think S106 monies were used for the bike rack that was down at the bottom of the car park in the middle of nowhere, I think, but I don't know if there is funds available that we could use.
I can find out.
Can you make a note?
Yeah.
There are plenty of S106 monies available somewhere.
I was about to say, Chair, we heard back. No, I think it's probably been another month.
Yeah.
Since that last very
That's a
positive
good point.
conversation.
Thank you.
I mean, you want to look at the TAD budget, right? TAD, which is total something demand into. Looking at Councillor Belzy, but it's something like that.
I don't remember the actual
But the county council keep it, but I mean, after all, this is sort of an active travel thing, isn't it? So
Yes.
therefore, surely it could be rescued from the county council budget. Because £6,000 is not an insignificant
That's
amount.
about 68,000.
Well, we don't pay.
Oh, I see.
Really working net figures.
What could we cover?
Perhaps it might be worth, when we get correspondence back from Ian Myhill, Sarah, we'll contact him about this particular project and say, you know, is there any chance of some funding coming our way? Okay.
I was about to say, it's location. You know, my personal view is yes, I balked at that and went, oh, that's just. However, if it's in the right place, which I think it is, it's visible, CCTV, right by the toilets. It's something people go, oh, yeah, I can cycle there. There's toilets right there. Oh, it's quite clearly seen. It's one of those where I think we might just have to stump it and just go, yeah, not ideal. Yes, of course, we would like it to be cheaper, but if it's the right place and it means it's going to get used, there's no point having something that's not going to be used, like the current bike rack.
Yeah.
Would be my view, Chair.
Yeah, so, but, you know, the money is beyond the groundwork, but if the groundwork needs doing, once it's done properly, it's done. And then you can add to it and stuff like that. I mean, it is a lot of money. But moving forward, we want more and more people to do this. So at some point you have to stick your, toe in the water and actually go, right, let's move on and get things done.
Okay.
So, but obviously 2 more quotes are going to be needed anyway. So
I think what we'll do, the recommendation is to consider the proposal and alternative locations. I think we've cleared that one up. I think we'll just stick with the location we've got. In terms of the recommendation, is that yes, we will go ahead with that location, but we'll get more quotes, and also for town clerk or deputy town clerk to inquire with West Sussex regarding funding or grants, or if there's any money that they can put towards it. They might match fund it. So in terms of it's £6 put through.
Sponsorship from a cycle shop?
Could be.
Just anything.
Or an insurance company.
Or a cycle insurance company, which awareness day, they can put their hand in their pocket.
Nice.
And sponsor. We could get it done in time for Bike Week. I'd be pushing it, but you never know. And they could do a mass unveiling.
Okay, so all right, let's just all these ideas, right? So where are we going to go with that?
So as part of the Bike Awareness Week, inquire with the bike shops whether they would wish to contribute towards a.
I like that idea. I think in terms of getting the initial costs, I think we're going to need to find ourselves or some funding from West Sussex, and then look at sponsorship after that potentially.
And sponsorship if we get enough.
So that's the proposal. Have a second. Thanks, John. Is everybody clear what we're trying, what the recommendation is?
Yes.
Yeah, great. All those in favour?
Did we need a second? Did you have a second?
Just second.
Did, okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, item number 9, bike bus. So this is the Friday's bike bus. We've got a really good relationship with Hamish at Sustrans, who runs the bike bus for Sustrans, and he's really keen to get going. We've got a couple of volunteers at our pilot school at Housewood Park already. We need 5 to get going, and we're almost there. We're looking now, we're just going to push back the dates for the actual launch of it. It's going to be April after Easter, really. It's a lot less stressy, and the House of Park also have their bikeability and residential as well prior to Easter. So it's not a great time before it, because we were initially looking at the 24th of March or 22nd of March. So actions on that one. The recruiting started from the volunteers' perspective. The WhatsApp community has been set up. There is an initial route and plan as well, so that's all been done. And the risk assessment that's all done by the volunteers is yet to be done, but we'll do that in due course. And then basically look at the launch date, which will be after Easter, as I've said. So hopefully we'll have our first one. The other point I will say is that I'm going to ask another school to see if they would be interested in sort of getting the ball rolling, so that come April we're not having to then wait another 4 months before something else starts. So I've had some very good conversations with the head teacher at St Mary's. She's really proactive, very positive. I know it's not the same educational trust as Houseford, but I can't remember the lady's name.
Rachel somebody.
Yeah, she's really cool and very interested and very very positive about it. And they're also doing the big walk and cycle week as well, which is another such trans event. So they've really bought into that too, which is in a couple of weeks' time in March. So I'm going to speak to them if that's all right with you, Lucy. Thank you. So that's Bike Bus. So we're moving nicely ahead with that, and I think again it's going to be great for the kids. I think there was something out there this week, social media wise, where somebody went into the school and said how many kids cycle to school. Not very many put their hands up. When then she asked how many kids would like to cycle to school, basically the whole school put their hands up. So the kids want to do it. We've just got to be able to facilitate it, really, and that's what we're doing. So well done. Item number 10. Finally got round to it. Bike rides.
Just before you sort of move off that, in
Yes.
terms of a related thing, you might want to take a look at the West Sussex website and the agenda pack for the communities. What is it? It's the Communities, Highways and Environment Scrutiny Committee on Monday, which has it's got there's a lot of good stuff in it, including analysis of what they've done with the 4 million extra that they had for road maintenance, which where that money's gone. But part of that meeting is going to discuss the installation of I think you call it sort of, if you like, signage around school to try and prompt parents to not travel in front of the school during certain hours.
Yeah.
So it's sort of road closure by sort of signage.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it'll work, but there's a scheme of 3 going on.
There are.
It always strikes me, I get an awful lot of emails about Houstead Park, about the if you like. The snag is I'm not sure where the, if you like, diversion route would go if you were sort of encouraging people not to go across the front of Manor Road.
Well, I think the idea is that you get some form of buy-in from residents, and that's fine because a lot of the residents are pretty tired of the congestion anyway, and it's just displacing parents. We had the conversation we had with Ian today was regarding that, and Escots are going to be potentially included in it, and Sackville included in a pilot scheme here in East Grinstead as well, hopefully sometime in the near future, which would be really good. And the idea really is that, like you said, it's signage. It's not called school streets, but it is school streets. So it's not necessarily blocked off, but it's really encouraging parents to look at alternatives and actually not go and drive anywhere near the school.
And making sort of parts of the pavement safer and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they were talking about sort of building in chicanes and coloured roadways and pathways. So it's really evident that it's purely for people, not cars. So what was that? So that was Communities, Highways and something.
Environment Scrutiny Committee. It's but the pack on that is, as I say, it's got some very interesting stuff in it.
Great, thank you.
I would steer clear of the section on the progress in the current year and move straight to item 6 onwards will be the ones that really interest you.
Okay, thank you very much. Awesome. Okay, item number 10 is bike hire scheme. Reiterate, thank you to Deputy Clerk and Town Clerk for going out in the rain, looking at the different locations. If you remember, we were looking initially at a bike station outside the station, the train station. Govia had come back and said it's going to cost about £800 a year to have that there, which is really good of them. So that doesn't bode too well. And then also Evolve Estates up by Carlo's Lounge and Accelerate Gym, they're not at all happy about having something outside on that Queen's Walk area. They said, no, it needs to go into the car park at Mid Sussex. West Sussex came back with a no in using one of their car parking spaces outside the ex-Halifax Building Society. So that was a no-go. And yeah, it's just brick wall after brick wall. But Town Clerk and Deputy Clerk have looked at some other options. There's land off the A22 at the end of Forest Way, which is owned by West Sussex, waiting for a response from Madam Denby on that one.
We spoke to Ian about that today, didn't
Yeah.
we? So we've got another.
It's that
Way
grass
in there,
area,
I
the
think. Yeah.
triangular grass area behind the wooden fencing. I'm not entirely
Is
sure
that
how
what
that,
this one is?
how a bike racking station would work
This bit here.
on that.
That sounds a good one to me.
But we'll see what happens, and we'll be, communication with the bike hire people. There's also the land at the East Grinstead station. No more progress has been made with Govia trains. However, the Community Rail Development Officer from South East Communities Rail Partnership has provided some alternative contacts at GTR, who have now been approached for their views on this site, if the site could be viable with no charges based on that scheme. If it's not a profit-making exercise, so which it won't be. So we're waiting to hear back.
Is that the, sorry, may I just ask, is that the one, this one here that we're looking at the station car park? Where
No,
we buy the car one?
I
Yeah,
think-
it's down that,
Yeah.
down the back there, yeah.
So that in respect to the costs and the initial trial period of the scheme, we've been advised by the company that they have the bikes also based in Forest Row. The shortest period would be a 12-month period with the costs that are detailed below in the report. The scheme for East Grinstead was originally looked at towards leisure and linking to the Forest Way and Forest Row, which would also be considered as part of a future growth strategy to bring in Worth Way at a later date, hopefully to get support from Crawley Down, Turners Hill, Three Bridges, with further docking stations along the Worth Way, and any other purpose would need a much larger fleet of bikes. So to supply and operate the app bike hire system for East Grinstead Town Council for 12 months, the scheme will initially consist of 8 bikes at £55 a month each at 2 locations, to be confirmed. Supply and installation of a 2 toast rack style cycle stand with 5 hoops, livery and branding for the bikes, a scheme of £40 per bike. And basically the sum has increased to just over £7,000. Other bike hire companies have been approached, however, these are based in larger towns and cities. They require a much higher number of docking stations to be available, and therefore the costs also increase considerably. Until the issue of finding suitable locations and gaining permission from landowners is resolved, the project can't move further forward, unfortunately. But we are making headway with Govia Trains, hopefully, and I was thinking maybe our MP might be able to help.
We can write.
We can write there and see if we can get some,
Yeah.
put some pressure on. Great.
I think the Govia Thames Link, I think it's just a matter, alluded to it, finding the right person. I think we've just not got to that right person.
Yeah.
I think as soon as you say this is all about sustainability, this is not for profit, this is town council, we're doing this to try and encourage travel, we want it so people can come off a train and get on a bike.
Yeah.
I think if we just need to find out, maybe I'm being overly optimistic,
Yeah,
I think it's the question of finding that right
Maybe
person.
going back to people that we work with the disabled access and things, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
They would, you'd imagine.
Okay.
Because there must, back to there must be a sustainable Govia Thames Link person that's trying to look at making all things like we are almost for Govia Thames. I think we just need to find that right person.
Yeah.
I personally, and I know we haven't even got anyone, but I think up the car park may not be preferable. If we could get it out the front, all the better.
Yeah.
I understand that would be a challenge. Have we approached Sainsbury's? Would be the other option.
Yeah, that would be.
I just wondered on that corner where and it's a bit tight. Have we actually, again, Sainsbury's, another big brand, want to have their green credentials? I just wonder, because if it's on that corner, as you come round, it's a little bit wider there, I think, because you've got the park. Yeah, or the Bluebell Railway, again, a bit further down. But again, if it's, it's a bit, that's quite far down. That's quite far down. Yeah, you'll be surprised. You drive it all the time, JB. I've walked it and it's a long way.
Is it what, from the station to that bit?
To the recycled bit at the bottom of the Sainsbury's car park. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Car parking spaces.
But there was a car parking space before that, is what I was thinking.
Oh, you thinking there? Okay,
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
the point being Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
They've got car parking
All of them
spaces
would.
by the Starbucks, it's Starbucks, haven't
Yeah.
That would be
A
a-
loop that goes round,
Yeah.
haven't they?
Yeah,
Mm.
so I think, yeah, maybe approach
they? Okay,
Sainsbury's.
that's a good idea, that's a good shout, actually. I know, the store manager at Sainsbury's. Add that to my list. Yeah.
So I noticed that the Brompton, sort of what was it, that there was a stack of 8 Brompton bikes at Three Bridges, that's
Yeah.
gone.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, that seemed a bit, I mean, that just looked like, so I guess you did it online or something and got a key to open it. And,
Yeah, they're in a box, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it always struck me that it would be, to try and do something that gets you into Crawley Down. But the objective of trying to make Crawley Down a destination on the Worth Way, I think, is in a state of failure at the moment. Once you get there isn't exactly anything to do.
no, that's a good point, actually.
It's got a good butchers.
Yes, but I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to cycle to the butchers? Well, you well might.
Yeah, I think we're on pause until we get to hear back from Gateshead, and so
Yeah.
we'll contact Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
And we'll make contact with Bluebell as well, because actually it's that's still a good shout too, I think,
Anyway,
Keep-
near
try
there,
and keep
anything
our
just,
options.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you very much, so we'll just put that on hold for
oh,
a
we
moment.
don't get round to it.
Put it on ice, as I say. Item number 11 is to receive the report and scheme and consider promotion of schemes to residents on community highways. And the idea here was really just to also get a bigger idea and sense of how we can have a positive impact in terms of public realm within East Grinstead. Where I think community highway schemes are great, having looked at it in more detail, it's probably not the right angle from us as a committee, but it's from an exercise of trying to actually highlight where things need to be improved, i.e. Ship Street, roundabout junction, making that a narrower road so that it's easier for people to cross that road. That kind of thing is kind of where I was going at and also asking our fellow councillors to look at it from a ward perspective and coming in with their ideas that would also fit then slots quite nicely into plans from the LCB.
I don't think that request went out.
It didn't.
Are we going to?
Yes. Yeah, I will get that. Or we will at some point.
Is it July, you think, for community highway schemes?
Yeah.
I think it's June, I think it might say somewhere there. I think it's June.
So in respect to queries raised at the previous meeting, a response has been received from Adam at West Sussex, and he said it's great to hear that he's considered engaging with the community in pursuit of sustainable travel projects. I've provided responses to your questions below. Once you have some schemes in mind, please feel free to reach out to myself and the Assistant Area Highway Manager, Christine Ellison, for further advice and support. One of the first question was examples of previous successful applications, in particular related to sustainable travel in East Grinstead. I am unable to find many specific examples relating to sustainable travel in the vicinity of East Grinstead, but one example might be the introduction of several central refuges on Jane Murray Way, Burgess Hill, to allow greater connectivity for pedestrians with green circle path around with the green circle path around Burgess Hill. The sorts of things that may be considered as a community highway scheme, however, can be found on a guidance note that is sent to us. Funds available for applications that are submitted prior to June 24. The current annual budget for delivery on the schemes is set at approximately 2 million. This budget is to be shared between all successful schemes. Can I ask Ian how many schemes they do? It's not many, is it?
Not many, right? You'll do better if you can find S106.
Yeah.
Right, so a number of points. First of all, it's now a rolling programme.
Yeah.
Right, so there's no fixed deadline, right, that so you have to work to. So that's gone out of it, which I guess means if you get in earlier in the financial year, you might stand a better chance than later in the financial year. There is one central refuge scheme which is currently sat outside Fellwater Court.
Yeah.
Right, which is in abeyance while the ill-fated A22, A264 corridor study, which is stalled because the Surrey County Council lead officer transferred to another job. So yeah, right, and how you can build all these houses in Imberhorn without actually having solved that first? I don't know. The other thing that I would always say to anybody who now does one of these schemes is be careful what you ask for.
I agree.
Right, because if you go to Park Road, Maypole Road, you will see that you have now got something in place which is not what the residents wanted when they asked for it.
No.
It was that the highway officer went round, he agreed that it was dangerous, and he has put a scheme in, which means that crossing is now much less dangerous, but it is about 3 times longer than it was before.
And can I just add on the Woodbury Avenue scheme, which was a pinch point going over to a path. They adopted the scheme, but then delivered the pinch point, but haven't delivered the path, which was a significant part of the scheme. So you're now crossing over onto grass, then you should have been crossing over. But then the idea was to help push chairs and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, and the funds run out, I think, to finish the scheme, and so it is finished, but it wasn't delivered.
That doesn't make any
It
sense.
wasn't delivered as intended.
Well,
Yeah.
can add it on to the, can you finish the, under this one,
Yeah,
can you put the path in?
Be careful what you wish for, is the,
But there's 2 levels, right? If it only involves paint, then you stand a really good chance of getting it done. Right? And that is, it's the CTRO, Community Traffic Regulation Order, right? You know, so, but it doesn't involve, I think that's probably wrong because it doesn't involve a traffic regulation order. And then there's a community highway scheme, and I don't know, 5 across the area every year, right? You know, sort of the chance of getting in is very, very slim.
£2,000 doesn't sound a lot of money either to do
The
a
smaller one
scheme.
sounds like.
one of the questions that was put from Vast Adam is how many schemes are likely to be put forward for the 25-26 design programme? It's hard to say exactly how many schemes will be progressed each year, as it's dependent on costs and successful applications. As a term reference, though, 17 progressed in 23-24 and 15 progressed on the 24-25 programme.
And the ratio of success is 1 in 5.
Oh dear.
Right, if you do a 30-mile-an-hour zone, you'll get a 1 in 2. Right,
So 20 miles an hour around schools kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be.
you know, you've got a 50% chance of winning that,
Okay,
right?
That would be good.
that sounds much better.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable, yeah.
On the understanding from previous involvement with community highway schemes are that they are delivered over a 2-year period. Year 1 design, year 2 implementation. Is that still the case? Yes. We're aware that schemes are scored on various factors. Is it possible to give us information on the highway's priorities? Key considerations and other supporting information can be found on a highway scheme guidance note. The logic behind the scoring mechanisms, which I've never actually understood, and I've seen a lot of them. The logic on the scoring mechanisms is that moderation is kept confidential even from the area office to ensure the process remains fair across the county. Unfortunately, there I'm unable to provide further information on that, and it's there's a lot of things that they take into consideration. So all in all, the progress on that is great, but we just need to then roll this out to everybody and just find out, and then.
There is a sort of way that they do it. It's like, you know, sort of, it's like SMART, where the first word is safety and the next word, and then, you know, sort of.
Yeah.
Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and
And
time.
no, it's not, but no, they're using it for different things. I mean,
Very
I
good
can,
though.
I can dig it out, when you're a bit further on and tell you, guys, because, yeah.
Realistic.
Great stuff. Okay, so it's still a bit of work to do on that one, so we'll find out, but hopefully then the action on that, I think, Sarah, is really to word get an email, a communication out to our councillors and ask them, explain what we're trying to achieve, and then come back with their
Ideas, suggestions, yeah.
There was somebody dropped something into the town clerk's mailbox today, so.
Okay.
I mean, sorry.
Was a letter,
I don't
wasn't
think we're
it?
looking for millions of
Was a
schemes. I
letter,
think we need
not a
to be
bot.
really, you know, if we get
Email.
1 or 2
Yeah.
in the whole of Wessex, that would be
Success.
success. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Number 12, dates of the next meeting. 18th of April is our next meeting, folks. 30th of May, 25 July, 5 September, 20 November, 28 November, and 16 January. Make a note of those, please. Thank you. Date, next meeting, 18th of April, 7 o'clock.
Which was Ashford annual village meeting.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. One other very quick point is that in terms of structure for the meeting, we'll look to maybe structure in a slightly more conformative way in terms of, acts as a lot of the sort of higgledy-piggledy, maybe look at sort of biodiversity, environment stuff, then active travel stuff, and then incorporate various things. So we'll just have a look at how the meeting agenda comes out next time. But thank you very much for your patience. I'll call the meeting to an end at 8:26.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Can I say I'm not going to be on the